A medical expert, Dr. Anthonius Fauci, who tried to correct Trump. In a March 5 briefing at the White House about the coronavirus, President Trump accused the State Department, the deep State Department behind him. Dr. Anthonius Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, rubbed his head and rubbed his forehead. Some thought Dr. Fauci was slighting the president, leading to a erosive online reaction. On Twitter and Facebook, a post that Bad called he was a part of secret cabal who opposed Mr. Trump was presently shared thousands of times, raising roughly millions of people. After 7 days, Dr. Fauci, the administration's most outspoken advocate of urgent measures to fight the coronavirus outbreak, has become the aim of an online conspiracy theory that he is mobilizing to undermine the president. That fanciful claim has spread across Facebook and Twitter, fanned by a right-wing chorus of Mr. Trump's supporters. Even as Dr. Fauci has won a public following for his willingness to contradict the president and correct falsehoods and overly rosy pronouncements about containing the virus. An analysis by the New York Times found over 70 accounts and Twitters that have promoted the hashtag Fauci fraud, with some tweeting as frequently as 795 times a day. The anti-Fauci sentiment is being reinforced by posts from the Tom Pittons, the president of the Judicial Watch, a conservative group's Bill Michael, host of the far-right online talk show Your Voice of America, and other outspoken Trump supporters such as Shiva Ayyadurai, who has falsely claimed to be the inventor of email. Many of the anti-Fauci posts, some of which pointed to a 7-year-old email that Dr. Fauci had sent praising Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State, have been retweeted thousands of times on YouTube. Conspiracy theory videos about Dr. Fauci have racked up hundreds of thousands of views in the past week, and private Facebook groups posted praising him have also been shared hundreds of times and liked by thousands of people, according to Times analysis. One anti-Fauci tweet on Thursday said, "Sorry, liberals, but we don't trust Dr. Anthony Fauci." The torrent of the falsehoods aims at discrediting Dr. Fauci is another example of the hyper-partisan information flow that has driven what's into the way Americans think. For the past few years, far-right supporters of President Trump have regularly vilified those whom they say opposing him. Even so, the campaign against Dr. Fauci stands out because he is one of the world's leading infectious disease experts and members of Mr. Trump's virus task force, and it is unfolding as the government battles a Pentagon that is rapidly spreading in the United States. It is the latest twist in the behind flow of right-wings punditries that for weeks echoed Mr. Trump in minimizing the threat posed by the coronavirus and arguably undercuts efforts to alert the public of its dangers. Whereas the president took a more assertive posture against the outbreak, conservative outlets shifted too, but now accuse Democrats and journalists of trying to use the pandemic to damage Mr. Trump politically. There seems to be a concerned effort on the part of Trump supporters to spread misinformation about the virus aggressively, said Carl Bergstrom, a professor of biology at the University of Washington, who has studied misinformation, adding that Dr. Fauci is compartment the brunt of attacks. Mr. Bergstrom said there is this sense that experts are untrustworthy and have agendas that aren't aligned with the people. It is very concerning because the experts in this are being discounted out of hand. The Trump administrations have previously shown a distaste for relying on scientific expertise, such as when dealing with climate change, but misinformation campaigns during the pandemic carry immense danger because they may so disrupt in public health officials when accurate information and advice are crucial, said Whitney Phillips, an assistant professor of the Squaresy University who teaches digital ethics. What this case will show is that conspiracy theories can kill, she said. The National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases did not respond to a request but comments on the misinformation being directed by Dr. Fauci, who has said he plans to keep working to contain the coronavirus. When you are dealing with the White House, sometimes you have to say things 1, 2, 3, 4 times and then it happens. Dr. Fauci said in an interview with Science magazine this past week, so I'm going to keep pushing. The online campaign is an abrupt shift for Dr. Fauci, an immunologist who has led the institute since 1984. He was long been seen as credible by large sections of the public and journalists, advising every president since Ronald Reagan and encouraging actions against the AIDS epidemics in the 1980s. In the recent weeks, much of the online discussions of Dr. Fauci was banning on positive signals. Labs, a media analysis company, studied 1.7 million mentions of Dr. Fauci across the web and TV broadcast from February 27 to Friday and found that through mid-March he was mainly praised and his comments were strongly forwarded. Reported right-wing figures quoted Dr. Fauci approvingly or lauded him for his comments on shootings down travels to and from China. Signals Lab said in the White House briefings on the coronavirus, he often spoke plainly of the severity of the situations, becoming something of a folk hero to some on the left. Then Dr. Fauci, who had been steady presence of Mr. Trump's side during the briefings, this not appears at the one on March 18th. Hashtag asking where is Dr. Fauci began trending on Twitter. Several Facebook fan groups dedicated to praising his medical record called for his returns. The first accounts tweeting false Fauci fraud also prayed through their volume. A post was small according to Times analysis. 2 days later, Dr. Fauci put his head in his hand at the White House briefing after Mr. Trump's remark on the Deep State Department. His gesture, some called it a face palm, caught the attention of Mr. Trump supporters online, who saw it as an insult to the president. Anti-Fauci posts spiked according to Signals Lab. Most of the increase was promoted by March 21 articles in the American Thinkers, a conservative blog, which published the 7-year-old mail that Dr. Fauci had written to a aide of Mr. Clinton. In the emails, Dr. Fauci praised Ms. Clinton for her stamina during the 2013 Benghazi hearings. The American Thinker falsely claims that the email was evidence that he was part of secret groups who opposed Mr. Trump. And that's why Mr. Petitions of judicials was posted tweet likings to a different blog post that showed Dr. Fauci email and Miss Clinton institute Mr. Peters includes videos himself cursing his arms and saying that's interesting. It was retweeted more than 1,500 times. In an interview, Mr. Peters said Dr. Fauci is doing a great job. He added that Dr. Fauci wrote very political statements to Hillary Clinton that was always Foreign's appointee of this nation sustained. Okay, the conspiracy story was soon shared thousands of times across Facebook and Twitter. It was also taken up by messaging groups on WhatsApp and Facebook run by Coaton, the autonomous groups that claims to be private to government secret. On YouTube's far-right personalities began spouting that Fauci was a fraud. By Tuesday, the online and television mentions of Dr. Fauci had declined but had become consistently negative signals website. One anti-Fauci tweet that Sunday read, Dr. Fauci is in love, proved Hillary Clinton's more reasons not to trust him. Facebook said it proactively removes misinformation related to the coronavirus. YouTube said that it did not recommend stock conspiracy theory videos and Dr. Fauci to viewers, and that it more promotes credible virus information. Twitter said it remained focused on talking down contents that can lead to harm. Mr. Phillips, the psychologist, sustained professor, said the campaign was part of a long-term plot story propagated by Mr. Trump's followers. Fauci had just been particularly important, she said, but any public health officials who gets cast in a conspiratorial narrative is going to be subject to those same kinds of suspicions, same kinds of doubts. That has not stopped Dr. Fauci from appearing on the internet. On Thursday, he joined a 30-minute Instagram live discussions about the coronavirus hosted by the National Basketball Association star Stephen Curry. Inspiring Dr. Fauci with the miniature basketball's hope behind him conveyed the same message that he has said for weeks about his outbreak. Thank you. Don't forget to share this video. Thank you so much.